properly, and is my screen visible? All okay from my side? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mang. Yeah, fine, fine, fine. Okay, Krish. So let me share the practical list. So this is what the practical list we are following. And up to 12, we have successfully completed, so no issue. Now, we are going to start from program number 13. My target is to complete till program number 15 today, right? 13, 14, and 15. The concept which we will need to do 13th, we have already done, but the concept related to 14 and 15 is not yet done in the session, in the lecture session. But we cannot wait till the lecture session, we discuss in the lecture session, right? We have to utilize the lab hours also. So what I will be doing is, whatever thing is needed to complete this practical, I will explain you right now. The detailed discussion, we will do it in the theory lectures, fine? So whatever is needed, that will be done. You will be definitely understanding the program as well. It is not that you just have to copy and execute it and everything will be from top of your head. No, you will be getting, but the detailed discussion will be done in the theory session. Fine. So I'll be trying to complete till 15th program. Okay. So, but I am not in hurry. I don't want that I'll be completing the syllabus from my side only. You should be getting the things as well. So if you have any problem related to any of the program and if you need my help, we will be surely utilizing the discussion time. So let us begin with program number 13. So program number 13 says that write a program for a calculator to accept an expression as a string in which the operands and operator are separated by 0 or more spaces. That's fine. So you are supposed to enter an expression. So just little before proceeding it, let me just let me have a quick discussion regarding the program. So what will be the input? What will be the input? Operand or operator, right? In the form, we will have input as an expression, right? We will be having input as an expression, or rather arithmetic expression, correct? Which will be combination of operand and operator. Let's say I am writing 5 divided by 2. This expression is also valid, and if you write spaces, then also it is valid, right? Then also it is valid. Should be considered. Let's say I'm keeping it simple. 5 divided by 2. This is my expression, arithmetic expression. And what should be the output? What should be the output here? Yeah, correct. 2.5, or rather whatever the expression you are entering, the evaluation of that expression should be your output. Fine. Got the output and input? Now, just understand the question. The question says you are supposed to enter an expression in the form of a string. So whatever you are inserting here, that should be in the form of string. Now tell me, now I know I need maximum discussion here and I want to conclude the logic behind this program in just 5 minutes. Fine, I don't want to discuss much because all the things which is needed for this program is already been discussed with you properly. So tell me, if I am having a string, can I perform division operation or any mathematical operation in this case? If I have stored it as a string? Absolutely no, right? What I need to do? Then what I need to do? Let's say steps. Let's write the steps. What I need to do? Yes. Convert it into integer. That's fine. But can I convert a string into integer? See, if I use up integer.parseInt, you might be thinking that I can apply integer.parseInt. But integer.parseInt will only work if you are having the integer as data which is stored in the form of string, like this. ParseInt and say 7. It will work only if you are having 7. right? Because we are having an integer only as a data, but it is stored in the string. So you are just converting, you are migrating integer, you are taking the integer from one bucket to another bucket. That's it, right? But ultimately that should be an integer. So directly applying the parseInt, we cannot do this. Yes, so you are giving the solutions. Convert the string character by character by comparing. Okay, first we need to separate strings into two. Both Harshil and Umang both have given me the correct solution, and we'll be merging the solution of both of you, and we'll be seeing what we will be doing is the best and the easiest way is to split the strings into the characters, right? To split in the characters, because I know that by splitting I can separate my 5 and 2. Yes or no? So we will be splitting the string expression. ठीक है, अभी कौन सा यूज करेंगे splitting the string expression? We have the method called split. So let's say my string is stored in str, or rather expression is a string which is storing 5 divided by 2. So if I write exp.split, right, it is going to split me, but on what basis I need to split? What should be the criteria for split, or what should be the you can say the parameter for splitting the values? Any idea? When the operator comes. Okay, fine, Harshil. Let me help you out in this. Can I do like this? Okay. Before this, giving the solution for this, let's say I'm having one email, say abc@gmail.com. Now, if I want to split this email into the username and the domain name, what should be the character? What should be the criteria? If I want to split this email ID, yes, exactly, Krish. Exactly, Krish. So what split will have as an parameter, that on which character you want to split the particular expression. It can be at the rate. It can be multiple characters. If I want to split this, Java is fun. If I want to split this, if the problem is something like this, split a string into words. What should be the split parameter? I want to convert my string into words. What should be the split parameter? Exactly, right? So when I do split, I need to provide some character, some expression, so that your expressions can be splitted. So here in this case, can I use this? Can I use this division operator? When I use a division operator, I am going to split, my string will be separated into 5 and 2. Am I clear, everyone? Yeah, okay, Harshil. Others, clear? When I use split, I am going to divide my string into two parts, 5 and 2. But wait, hold on. Still, your 5 is a string and your 2 is a string. Agreed or not? Agreed? Yeah. Now another question. When I split, what the split function will return? Tell me. This is very logical and very, if you have everything in your mind related to Java, you can answer. What the split function will return? Forget about this example. Give me a generic answer. What exactly? Very good, Harshil. It is going to return an array. Now, do you know that what will be the size of array? Correct, Krish, correct. Do you know what will be the size of the array? Or can you give me the exact number, what will be the size of that array? Don't think much. No. See, don't think much. It totally on the string I am using and the split parameter I'm using? Yes or no? For this string, if my split parameter is space, what will be the answer? For this case, if my split parameter is space, what will be the size of array? No, the size of the array will be 3, Harshil. 3. Why 3? This will be the first argument, this is will be the second argument, and third will be the fun argument. Am I clear, Harshil? Yeah, correct. So, but if my split parameter is I, what will be the size of the array then? 2, of course. One first index will be having Java space and second will be having S space fun, right? But can you give me the minimum amount of size of that array? Now why it returns array, that is what I'm justifying. That split function will at least divide your string into 2, yes or no? At least. I don't know the maximum size because it depends on the length of the string, data of the string, and it depends on the splitting parameter. But I know that exactly that it is going to at least divide my string into 2 parts. And that's why we will be having array on the left hand side of your split function. Fine. So let's have, say, string on, obviously it is of type string. So I'm having, so we will not be mentioning the size right now because we don't know. So a string, let's say operands, and this is what the expression. So what will be my operand, what will be my 0 index will have? Correct. It will be having 5. And similarly, your first index will be having 2. Agreed? Right. Now what should be the next step? Now I have 5 and 2 with me. What should be the next step? What should be the next step? Still I cannot perform, yes, parseInt, exactly, parseInt and converting into integer. So it is very easy now. A is equal to integer dot parse int, and here comes the 0th operand. Similarly, convert the next operand, and your both the operands are ready for the mathematical evaluation. Now that's fine. Now how to know that which, see, I have 5 ready with me, 2 ready with me, but how to get this division sign? How to know that I have to perform mathematical operation? Yeah, that's fine. That's exactly correct, Harshil. That we need to use the switch case, which will decide. But how to know that it is actually division? एक बार पता चल गया कि ऑपरेटर ये है, then it's switch case. But ऑपरेटर ये है, वो पता कैसे चलेगा? Okay, this is little bit tricky. Let me help you out here. See, this is what the meaning of discussing and analyzing a program, which is actually building your logical skill. Step by step up. See, coding is not that difficult, right? Only analyzing and thinking how to proceed, that's what matters a lot. Abhi, comparing with multiple operators. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. What is the length of this? Let me give you another. Let me help you in the easiest way I can. From this string, traverse entire string till operator. Just a second, student. Yes, this can be one of the ways, Umang. You can do that, but let me give you one line answer for this. Okay, What is this operator actually? It's a character from the string. It's a character from the string, right? Right. Now, can I extract that character from the string? Do I have any method from string class which can extract a particular character? Anyone remember that? We have a method. Yes, great Umang. So what I can do is, I can do like this. Let's say character ch is equal to exp dot character at. Now I want the position of this. I want the position of this particular character. How I can get the position of that? See, you can see that for this expression, phi is at 0th position, operator is at first position, and 2 is at second position. Fine. Now, if I go till the length of my operand 0, if I calculate the length of the operand 0, can I get the length of the operand 0? Can I get, once I have the operand 0 with me, can I get the length of this? Once I get the length of this operand, I will be, so what is the length of this operand? What is the length of this operand 0? Length. I'm talking about length of this, Harshil. It's not 2, it's 1, right? What is the length of the string? What is the length of this string? 5 वाली, ये वाली जो है उसकी लेंथ कितनी हुई? लेंथ तो एक ही हुई ना? या ठीक है, तो अभी वो ऑपरेंड 1 की लेंथ में ले लूं तो उसके बाद तुरंत ही मुझे ऑपरेटर मिल जाएगा. So if I move exactly at length of operand 1, actually I am at the operator's place, right? So what I'll be doing is, I will be doing like this: operands of 0 dot is it okay or not? This will be returning 1. This will be returning 1. Whatever is the length, it can be 25. No, when you are splitting, Krish, when you are splitting, it will be only 5. It will be only 5. I'll be telling you how. Right? Now, this is okay. Yeah, we can do that. That is another thing. We can trim the empty spaces. That is also correct, right? We can trim it. So this is okay. This line is okay. So this is going to return me 1, and exactly at the first position I'm having, exactly at that position I'm having my operator. Is it okay, everyone? Fine. So let us try to code it and see what we are getting as the output. So this is what your program number 13. I did nothing. Whatever we have discussed, that is converted into the syntax. That's it. So entering the valid expressions through scanner class, taking the necessary variables a, b, answer, and operand. Then we have split. So now see, one more thing I need to add it here. Is it necessary always that it will be only division? Is it necessary that only will be having division in the expression? No, it can be. We are right now calculating, considering only basic mathematical operation. So it can be either plus, minus, multiply, or divide, right? So I want to, if any of this 4 character is there, then I want to split based on these 4 characters. And we are right now considering a simple expression only, not having multiple mathematical calculation like 3 plus 4 into 7 divided by 5. No, we are not considering that. We are only considering a basic mathematical operation where you have 1 operator and 2 operands. That's it. Because if you want to do it further, you have to change this particular code, because then the associativity rule will come, then that word mass rule will come, precedence will come. So there will be many variations in this. We are considering a basic mathematical expression involving one operator and two operands. So as per the definition given, so this is what we are splitting. If it is written like this is a kind of an expression where you can give multiple characters by separating slash. So if it is plus, minus, multiply or divide, you just split the operands. And yes, of course, if you have a space, you can trim those spaces, and once it is there, convert it into the corresponding double or integer. We have taken division, that's why we have taken the values in double. ठीक है, फिर operand operator मिल गया. Once we got the operator, just apply simple switch case, perform the arithmetic operation and display the answer. Right? Let me run the code for you and see what is happening. Valid expression, let's say same expression I am using, 5 divided by 2, and what it is giving. Let me have that case also. 5 space 2. Oh, sorry, it's not a valid expression. 5 divided by 5. Right? So it is going to split on this only because you have used multiple operators. Fine, everyone. And you are parsing the zeroth operand only. Fine, all okay? So will you able to complete it? I'm giving you 10 minutes time to complete this and update me regarding the status for error or output or any confusion. Fine, so this is your code. This is your code for the same. You can complete it and let me know. Fine, then we'll be proceeding it to the next program. Doing, guys? Getting the output? What is the status, students? Are you getting the output? Facing any issue? Please let me know so that we can come to know that whether we should proceed or should we wait. Okay, Kamal, that's no issue. Do it, but just update me once it is done or if you have any query. Okay, okay, fine, Kinjal. Okay. Is it done? It should be done by now, students. It's almost 1 hour. It's a small program and no other complexity. Is it done? Shall I proceed with the next one? Okay, okay, good, good. Getting output or facing an issue? Okay, let's move on to the next next program in the list. Somebody was perfect. Very good, very good. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, program number 14. Write a program that creates an array list and adds a known object, a date object, a string, and a circle object to the list. And use a loop to display all elements in the list by invoking the object's toString method. Okay. Now, before starting with the program, I want to make you aware regarding the array list. I have told you in the session that array list will be done in the later unit that is related to set and list and everything. But for this program, I'm giving you a little bit introduction about array list. See, when you create any data structure, whether it can be array or linked list or tree in a normal C program, what happens if I want to manipulate that data structure? I have to manipulate by myself. Manipulation in the sense, say suppose I'm creating the array, a simple array of size 10, right? Now, whether you create this in C program like this, right, or you create in Java like this, right? In both the ways, the only difference is the time at which the memory is allocated to array. Otherwise, this array, both the arrays are actually same only. Here, at compile time, the memory is going to be allocated. Here, runtime it is going to be allocated. That is what only the difference, right? But ultimately, these two are the same array. Right? Now, if say suppose I have a size of 10 and I'm entering the value one by one, that's not an issue, right? Entering one by one value in the size of 10, that's fine. But what if I remove in between two elements from the array? What will happen? I have to say middle of the randomly I am deleting some of the element, then I need to shift the values in the right place. Yes or no? The shifting of the operation, either right side or left side, has to be done manually by myself, right? You can very well visualize with the help with the linked list that if you are creating a node, then it is your responsibility to work with that linked list properly. Say suppose you want to traverse the linked list, you have to create a function. If you want to delete a node from the linked list, you have to create a separate function. If you want to delete the first node, then you need to create a separate function. If you want to delete the last node, separate function. Add the node, separate function. Adding first, separate function. Adding last, separate function. Sorting, separate function. So it is on the shoulders of developer to create separate functions for manipulating that data structure, and that is one of the very much tedious task for a developer, right? So Java is bringing up with the solution called list. Actually, it's called a collection, but right now we are not going in detail. Java comes up with a solution called list. Now, what Java gives us, it says that you just use my APIs. What are APIs? Application Programming Interface. You can very well have the analogy as normal functions, right? You just use my functions to do your operation. The internal thing related to that operation, that will be taken care by me. So for example, if you are creating a linked list in Java, then you just have to use add the node, delete, remove the node, sort the list. You just have to give the function name, and internal operation how the sorting is done, how the deletion is done, and then rearranging the list again, how the adding the node is taking place, that all will be taken care by Java. Isn't it great that we are least concerned about how the list is going to be populated and how the list is going to be stored. We will be just using the functions as per the requirement. Getting the concept, guys? Getting the concept? Yes, yes. So absolutely, it's a very nice concept added by Java. Now, one of such kind of list is called an array list. Now, what is the difference between normal array and array list? Now, here if you see that once the array has been assigned some size, whether it is at runtime or compile time, but once the size has been assigned, my this array cannot grow and cannot shrink dynamically, right? If I try to add the element at 12th position, will it allow me? This array will it allow me to enter the value at 12th position or 11th position or 10th position? No, because once the size has been fixed, my array cannot shrink, means it cannot shrink dynamically. If I'm removing some of the elements, it is not going to reduce the size. And if I add the element after the size, it is not going to allow me. It will be giving me the exceptions, runtime errors, right? So this is what the limitation. Now, if I use array list from the list provided by Java, then that they become the dynamic arrays, right? Dynamic array. This is one of the major property array list. So first is it's a dynamic array. Dynamic array in the sense it can grow and shrink as per the requirement, right? As per the requirement, it can delete, it can reduce its size also, and if needed, it can also increase the size dynamically. And the beauty is you are not knowing that it is actually growing or it is shrinking. It is done everything. It is an backend, because you as a user, you are not concerned about how your Java is manipulating the size of the array. You are just concerned with your values, and array is there to give your values. That's it, right? So what is the concept behind the list? Can anyone tell me? One of the OOP concept is achieved by this, which is that I'm only concerned with what I should be, right? How the size of the array is growing, how the size is shrinking, I am least concerned. I am only concerned. Great, Krish, very good. So it's a kind of an abstraction Java provides us, that you are only required to use my APIs, use my functions to remove, to add, to sort, and everything will be on my shoulders. Fine. So great, Harshil, fine. So one major difference, we will be discussing this in detail, but as of now, you just remember these points. Now, first difference is dynamic array. Second is you can have a generic array. Now, what about generic array? Say, suppose I am declaring a normal array of this integer data type. Will this array able to store a string value? Will it be able to store a string value? Of course not, because I have created an integer array. This is one of the limitation, or you can say constraint for using the array, right? But if I use array list, I can create a generic array which is capable of storing multiple type of objects. Yes, but there is a provision that if you want only a specific type of array list, like if you want to store only, if you want to have only string array list, then it is possible. But this is also possible that you can create a generic array list. As here you can see in the definition itself, that it is telling us to create an array list, and it is telling us to store the object of different data types. Can you see? One is of loan, second is the date, third is string, and fourth is circle. So all are of different type, and still your array list will be able to save all these different kinds of objects. Clear? These two difference? Clear? Yeah. And one more thing I would like to add it here, that it takes objects as its values. So if you want to store something in the array list, you are supposed to store in the form of objects only, right? It does not store the primitive data type as it is. ठीक है, मुझे अगर 10 स्टोर करना है, मुझे अगर 10 वैल्यू स्टोर करनी है, तो एज इट इज आई कैन नॉट स्टोर 10 value inside the array list. What I need to do? With whom I need to take the help? I want to store 10. I want to store 10 in my array list. I cannot store as it is because it is a primitive data type, that is integer. But still I want to store 10. To which concept I should contact? Exactly, Umang. We need wrapper class. And which concept we will be using? We will be using, there was a concept, a name of a game. Wrapper class, exactly. We will be using the wrapper class of type integer to store it. But which process we will be doing? We will be using the boxing, auto boxing and unboxing and all these concepts to store integer in the array list. So that's it as of now for array list, and let's begin with the program. All okay? Shall we proceed? So remember these 3 points. Okay. Where were we? Yeah. So this is done. I'm closing this. Program number 14. So you can see here that I have created and yes, one more thing I forgot to tell you, that array list is not part of java.lang, it is part of java.util package. So you are supposed to import that before using it. Now what we are doing is we are creating an array list. Like see, you can just create a normal array list. Right now the list is empty. The array is empty. There is no value, there is no size, and there is no element inside the array. And this is what a generic array list is. It is we are not specifying that which data type I am supposed to insert. I have created a generic array list, so each and every type of object can be accommodated inside it. So what I am doing, I am just storing. Let's say if I want to store an integer, that's it. See what I did. I use the wrapper class, convert my integer into an integer object, and then I added it. Right. So this is what it was not in the example, but let's do this also. Then we created a lone object and then we added it. Can you see? This is just as simple as calling a function, and that's it. Your object has been added in my list. Okay. So lone added, then I created the object of date. This is an inbuilt class, and that's just added it. This lone and my circle is actually the user defined class, and date and string are the inbuilt class, right? So just your program wants to say that whether it is an inbuilt class, whether it is an user defined class, it is as simple as adding the object inside it. Just call the add function and that's it. Similarly, we'll be having the remove function to remove the particular element, but this is not the part of the program, that's why it is not included. When we'll be doing the detailed discussion about list, at that time we'll be seeing. So that's all. So your list has been added and that's it. And using this for loop, see, as you can see, we have used the size. Here we have used the size. There is a function called size with the array list, which will be giving us the current size of the array. As we have discussed, that array list can grow dynamically, can shrink dynamically. So to know the current size of the array list, we need to use the size function, and till size we will be iterating, and we will be just printing. Let's delete this. We'll be just printing the each and every element present in the list. And how to print that? List.getI. So how easy it is. See, you can see the beauty of it. You just called the add function, your element has been added, You are just calling the get function to retrieve that element. Am I clear? And that element is actually an object, because array list will be storing only objects inside it. Fine with this? And see, this is when we discussed the wrapper class. At that time also I told you that there are some things in Java which will accept only object, and that's why Java felt that only primitive data type will not help us. We need something which can convert our primitive data type to object type, right? And that is what the wrapper class came into existence. Fine, and this is what one of the usefulness of wrapper class. So that's it, right? Now I'm having a loan object. This is my simple bean class. Have we talked about bean at any time? Bean class? Simple bean class. Have we discussed this? Or a Pojo class. If you say bean class or a Pojo class, do you remember this? No. Okay. Bean class is a class in Java which is a very simple class which will be having only two things with inside it. One will be the constructor and second will be the getters and setter method. We have discussed getters and setter methods, right? The method used to get the data members and methods used to set the data members, right? So these are called beans in Java. Beans are very simple class in Java which is having only getters and setters and constructors within it, nothing else. No business logic will be there inside the bean class, and this is actually a Pojo class. Pojo is like plain old Java object. If you say a bean class or if you say a Pojo, both are one and the same as of now, right? So this is what a loan, simple loan, it's a user defined class. You can vary the number of data members inside it. So for a reference, I have taken loan, account number on which the loan has been taken, account holder name, then tenure, the amount of duration for which the loan has been taken, and the rate of interest. That's it. So we are having a simple constructor and we are having all the getters and setter methods, right? Let me show you one beauty of this. Let me show you one beauty of this. Let's say I'm deleting this. I'm having a simple loan class, right? And I have discussed the data members. Now your editor will be having one feature called automatic generation of code, right? So for this particular class, I want to generate a constructor, right? So how can I do it? You can see here, right click inside the class, inside the curly parenthesis of class, you right click it and there will be a facility called insert node. So insert node, click on that. So it is giving you that which things you can insert automatically for this class. So let's say we are talking about constructor. So I want the constructor which parameterized constructor which will be having everything. You can skip as per your requirement, as you know that you can have multiple constructors as well, right? So let's say I want to generate for all the 4 items. So I'm generating, see the loan, actually it should come here. So my constructor has been added, right? Similarly, I want to add getters and setters. So you can again right click inside the class, insert code, and here you can see getters and setters, right? So just click that for all the parameters you need getters and setters. You can always have your combination. If you want, you don't want for that particular data member, you can very well skip it like this. Fine, just write and it is automatically generated for you. You need not to worry about this. This is an awesome feature, right? And there is one more way to format. Use the format to format the particular in a proper sequence, proper indentation. ठीक है, ये हो गया. Similarly, my circle. Let's say my circle में क्या है, सिर्फ एक radius है, उसका constructor है, उसकी getters and setter है, and we have one area function, that simple normal area function which is returning the area of that circle. Now I'm removing this for a while to help you understand. Got this class, got this program, everyone? Clone object, adding it, circle object, adding it. Fine, that's simple, simple. Now what I'm doing, I'm running this file. You can see 10 has been added. So using that loop, this is the loop which is printing my each and every object. So this is my 10. First, as I have been added 10, so add 10 has been added. Then you can see loan is added. Then date has been added. Then string has been added, and two circle objects are added. Clear? Now, do you think any problem with this output? Do you think any problem? You might not get because it is very initial for you. Can you read this actually? Read means can you understand this? Actually, I want to display the content which is there in the loan object. Can I read this? Can I understand that what will be the content inside loan? No. Why? Because let me give you. See what this get method will return. Every time your get method is going to return an object. So whenever you try to print the object using system.out.println, the object is actually what? Object is actually referring some memory location, right? So when you try to print an object, it is going to print some random value, that is random ID. This is hexadecimal ID, even we don't understand this. And it will be just giving you the information that this is of type loan, nothing else. We don't know the content of this object because it is a default message, right? So, and one more thing I want to add it here, that whenever you try to print the object, it is always going to convert it into string, because object as a whole we cannot get it. So Java will do what? Java will convert it into string, and then it will be displaying it. So it is going to convert something like this: list dot get I dot to string. Internally, your this line is going to convert it into this line only. It is going to convert it into toString only. Now what is a toString? It is a method of object class, which is object class is the class available with Java, and it is known as Cosmic Superclass. We have discussed this, if you remember. I do remember that in your class, I discussed this Cosmic Superclass, that is object class, which is the parent class of all the classes in Java. Even if it is your class or user-defined inbuilt class, it is the topmost class in Java. And every class in Java will be the subclass of object class. And as it is a cosmic superclass, there is no parent class of object class. It is the topmost class. That's why it is called cosmic superclass. We have the cosmic power, right? We say that cosmic power, God is a cosmic power, because there is no above God. Similarly, we don't have any class above object. That's why it's a cosmic superclass. And it is a superclass because every class will be the child class of object class. So if it is this method toString is a part of object class, and that's why every class can use it. Every class can use it. So ultimately your object is going to be converted into string, and then it is going to be displayed. But still it is not helping us, right? It is giving some unique hexadecimal address to us, which is we cannot understand the data corresponding to this. So what I need to convert my object into string, that is for sure. But I don't want the default message of that object class to display. I want my own task performed by toString method. I repeat, what I want is I want to convert it into toString. So this is to be done for sure. I need to convert it into string, but I don't want the default task of the toString method to be performed. Instead, I want my task to be performed inside toString method. So which concept I should use it here? Which concept I should use it? I want the toString method, but I don't want the exactly Umang. I need to do method overriding. I want to keep the signature as it is. I want to just change the task of that toString. I don't want to change toString. If I do overloading, it is altogether a different method, right? So what I will be doing, just go into the loan class here, and inside this you can again click it, insert code, and see here there will be a toString method. Can you see this? ToString method, just ToString method, you just click everything, and see you have overridden the ToString method of object class. Now what will happen? Let me run it for you and give you the difference. Can you see? Now the loan object is having the object content because it is now overriding. Now the priority of your local toString is more than the parent class toString. Correct? So it is providing you this. Whereas for circle class, still it is not having that toString method inside it. So it is using the default toString method of your object class. So it is giving something randomly. Now again for this also we'll be inserting the code. Again we'll be inserting this, and that's it. Our thing is ready. Fine. So let's run it again. Got the values? The only thing, if you write here dot toString or not, it is going to do the same thing. If you write toString or if you don't write toString, it is going to call the toString method. And as you have override the toString method inside your class, the priority of your toString is higher than priority of your object class toString. That's why it is calling your class toString method. But toString is came from where? From your object class. You are not creating a new or altogether giving birth to a new method. You are just using the same method of the toString class. You are just overriding it, redefining for your purpose. Fine? All clear? So many things I have bombarded from here. I know, but all okay? Got that? Yeah, yeah. If you have paid attention and in all the theory and lab session, I don't think it is difficult. But yes, if you have missed something, and then you cannot link it up that what I am telling you. Yes, so here is the program for you. Don't waste time in writing all these constructors and getter and setters. Wherever you are using, and if you want to create a bean class, and wherever you want getters and setter methods, you just right click it, insert code, and do it. Take the advantage of your editor. Fine. So here is the code for you. You just tell me what else I can show you, right? And right now this is the display of my screen. Tell me when to scroll down. Fine. Do it fast so that if time permits, I can explain you the next program also. Everybody got this. I want response not only from Harshil and Umang, from everyone. Getting the things? If it is a regular classes, we can easily read your faces and be assured that yes, you are getting it or you are not getting. We can read your face, but right now you only have to help us to say that whether you are getting it or not. Fine, fine. Okay, Kamal Raj, still more people. Where is Diksha, Jai Kishan, Kinjal, Krish, Milan, Nirali, Sachin, Urvisha, Vensi, Zaki Ahmed? Nobody is replying. बस यस बोल रहे हैं सब, तो हम भी यस बोल देते हैं. ऐसा नहीं होता. नाम बोलूंगी तब यस 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 लिख देंगे, है ना? प्लीज हेल्प योरसेल्फ गाइस, इट इज फॉर यू ओनली. Just let me know when to scroll down in the screen so that you can get a reference. See, which is the right way to learn? Do you know what you should do? You should just create a simple array list. Yes, yes. I wanted to pay attention here for a while, guys. I have told you that if you want to create a specific type of array list, then also it is possible. This is a generic array which is storing every each different types of objects, right? Say suppose I want to create only string, then I can use it this. So here you can see that it is not allowing us to add the integer objects, then loan object, then date object, circle, and right, only string object is allowed. Similarly, if I write here integer, then only it will allow integer to be stored. Similarly, it is also possible that if I use loan, that you can see only loan, a loan object is getting added, else for else everything we are getting error, right? So this is how you can restrict the elements inside an array list. But if your need is something where you want to have a multiple type of objects to be added, you can very well create a generic array list. Clear? Okay, very good, Harshit. Anyone else completed? It's very easy actually. It's a matter of 10 minutes only. Very good, Umang. Fine, fine. Others? I'm not having much time. Actually, I wanted to start with. Okay, fine, Krish. I wanted to start with the 15th program, but uh, no issue. We'll be doing it later. Actually, now next time we have to be little bit fast, huh, students? We will be completing 15th and 16th. Then, okay, Kinjal, great. 17th as well. 17th as well we will be completing. So 15, 16, 17. And these all are of now GSF. This is of GSF. This is also GSF. Sorry, Java FX. And then these are IO. And this is a flash. We'll be doing completing 22 next time. Right? Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay, Zenith. Very good. We have 10, 20 more minutes. Let me do one thing. Let me give you the brief idea about the 15th one and show you the code. It is actually very easy program. Just one concept has been added here. See, write a binary to decimal method to convert a binary string into a decimal number. Fine. Implement the binary to decimal method in a and to throw a number format exception if the string is not a binary string. Now suppose, what is an exception actually? What is an exception? Exception is actually a runtime error. Now tell me one thing here. Please pay attention, guys. Here, let's say I am writing this integer 5 divided by 0. Is there any error here? Oh, sorry, integer answer is equal to, or rather double answer is equal to. Okay, tell me, is there any error? I'm talking about error. Error is explicitly for syntactical error. Error we generally say for syntax error. Do we have syntax error here? Yeah, it's a logical error, right? That's correct. But is there any syntax error? No, no syntax error, right? So it is not going to, when I compile the program which is having this line, it is not going to give me any error. It will compile successfully. But as soon as I run the program, it is going to give me that, it is actually going to give me an exception because it is a logical error, right? So exceptions are, in the simplest term, I can say exceptions are runtime errors. They are not compile time errors, they are runtime errors generally, right? So this is a kind of an arithmetic exception because this exception is related to the error is going to be generated at runtime due to the arithmetic operation. This is an arithmetic exception. We will be learning the exceptions soon in the sessions, so it will be very much clear to you. But got it? That exceptions are logical errors and and they are caught at runtime. हाय, ठीक है. तो अभी आपको क्या बोला है कि आपको एक प्रोग्राम लिखना है कि you have to convert binary to decimal. You are supposed to enter a binary number in a string format, and you have to generate a number format exception if the string is not binary string. Now what is a binary string? What is a binary string? Binary string is a string which will be consisting of only 0 and 1. Correct. It is going to store zeros and one. Now, if user tries to enter the string other than binary string, for example, if I try to enter hello, is it a binary string? In this case, if I'm not entering a binary string, I should get an number format exception. I should catch that particular error at runtime, and I should tell the user that this is a number format exception and this string is not valid. But if I enter like this, is it a binary string? Absolutely, it's a binary string, right? So in this case there should not be any kind of exception from the program side. Is it okay? So there is a possibility that user might enter the correct string, user might enter the wrong string. If it is a right string, go with the flow and display the output. Convert it into decimal and give the output. If the string entered is not a binary string, in that case only you catch that particular exception, you hold that exception and tell the user that this is actually the exception because of this. All right? So let me show you. Got the question, guys? Got the question? Let me show you the code. It is actually very easy. Now, converting binary into decimal, that's an easy process. I think you might have did it in C also by ones and zero. By learning that 2 raised to 0 method, you can very well convert it into decimal, right? This is 2 raised to 0, 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to... You know that, right? How to convert a decimal into binary. I am only telling you like this. See this. I am taking one string from the user. Now I am entering the binary number here. So string is a binary number which is storing my binary string. Now, if my binary number is not actually a binary string, right? Then it is going to throw me. This is called a try block, where I will be putting the statements which can generate the exception, and if it gets generated, there is a catch block after try block which will catch that exception and it will print that message. If there is no exception generated, then it's absolutely fine. It is going to convert my binary into decimal and it is going to display that decimal number. Let me show you the output, it will be clear to you. Now enter a binary number. Let's say I'm entering 101. What is the equivalent of this number? Correct, 101 is 5. So I should get 5. So decimal number is 5. Can you see this? Decimal number is 5. No issue. Let me rerun it. Let's say I'm entering hello. Now you can see that this is actually not a binary string. So it is giving you exception. Given number is not a binary number. Okay? If the binary value is not of zeros and one, if it is not zeros and one, how to know that it is actually not a binary string? If it is not having the zeros and one combination. ठीक है, एक एक आप हर एक एक कैरेक्टर देखते हो, अगर कोई कैरेक्टर या तो जीरो या तो वन नहीं है, कोई भी कैरेक्टर पे आपको पता चलता है कि ये या तो जीरो या तो वन नहीं है, that means it is not a binary string and you are throwing. There are so many things involved in exceptions. I cannot explain you right now everything unless and until theory has been covered for it. But you just remember right now that if it is not, you are throwing an exception. So when you throw, you should have someone to catch it. So here you are catching that exception and you are printing the message. That's it. You can right now get the screenshot of this program. You can just type it, get the output, take the picture of this program, type it and get the output. Rest related to the exception handling, we will be learning it in the session, right? And once that session will be over, you will be easily getting this program, which different keywords I have used and how it is going to flow from one part to another part. Am I clear? Okay, fine. Let me take the attendance. Please take a picture of this. Please take a picture of this. And once you'll be getting time, please complete it before the next lab. Right? So, according from my side, till 15th program we have completed. Fine? Okay, let me take the attendance. Again, once the exception handling will be done in the session, I will be again going through this program to make you understand much more. Fine? But I know, I do understand that if it is not done in the theory session, it might not, it may happen that you are not getting it, but that's fine. But we have to remain in the flow of the tutorial as well, right? We cannot waste the time in lab. Fine. Let me take the attendance, and if you have any query, then let me know. Today is 25th. Program 13, 14, and 15, right? Okay, Zaki Ahmed, Sachin, Milan. Attend your roll calls, everyone. Milan, Mathi. Hitesh, Chirag, Vensi. Kamalraj, Astha, Shelvi. Now everybody will be responding as quick as they can, right? Jaikishan, Hiren, Munaf, Yatish. Vishi, Kushal, Umang, Urvisha. Mihir, Nirali, Rahul, Milan. Diksha, Zenith, Om, Harshil. Kinjal and Krish. Anyone left? Diksha? Okay. Anyone left? Milan. Okay. Fine. So just complete it. Still we have 5 minutes with us. Do complete it. I'm sharing the program again. Take the picture of this 15th program. And I'm showing you the 14th program. Right? Complete it. What about 14th, everyone? I got few responses about completion. What about others? Okay, okay, fine. So students, that's it from my side for today. Keep practicing the programs. Do let me know for any queries you are having. And take very good care of yourselves and your family members. Wish you a very happy day. And yes, we have a lecture soon, right, at 2 o'clock. So see you in the lecture, students. So bye for now. Oh, DE registration. Okay, fine, fine. I'll be asking the DE coordinator from our college, and I'll be updating you soon. Fine. I'll drop a message in your group for that. Okay. Okay. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you for joining. Wish you a very happy day ahead. Take care. Okay. Thank you, Arshil. Fine.